Oh. Yeah.
Ready for trial? There are still so many places for us to explore. I see everything. Busted. Our bond is strong. Boom, boom. Take it easy. This way.
I love you. Take my hand. Oh boy.
Our bond is strong.
To the night. Can you hear the voices laughing from the empty field? There's a pain inside that I used to hide. Hold my beginnings, struggle to fly away. I'm trying to find a way. The line between dreams and
This weather's got me in the mood for reciting some laws. Let's see. Commercial Law of the Land, Chapter 27, Section 6, Article 3 stipulates that... Wait, what was it? Oh my goodness, I've completely forgotten. What is wrong with me today?
So far away, is it shining all around me? Fate's weighing on me. Go against the flow and live my life. It has begun in the deep darkness, shadow of the moon. I hope the eyes in the brightness pray only for you. Under the shining stars, a girl is into you. A sign you're in water lilies sleep in the gentle air, the crack of dawn. Listen the sound of lovely leaves.
Motion to compel.
And the words slowly awaken, so let 'em sway.
Busted. Our bond is strong.
Don't you worry, you're still learning.
Everyone's
Don't
okay.
take it all on.
Incinerate.
It cannot be
Yikes.
like this forever. For hundreds of years, she never would wake up. A sleeping beauty, she was waiting for her prince. Charming, and it's crazy to me, 'cause I need you right now. My feelings for you grow, maybe still overflow. Thousands of stars, but I won't give up. I'll give it all I've got to make my dream come true. I will light up only for you and wish that you'll be mine. A girl's into you, 'cause I'm your
superstar from them. Other than that, nothing. His origins are so ambiguous that his Mario Hoops baller name is literally the question. His whole thing is being an enigma wrapped inside a majestic mustache, but no longer, I say. It's time Waluigi gets the attention that he deserves, and not just for his sick dance moves. This is game theory. I live for solving these kinds of mysteries, and today it's time for us to look past the memes in order to figure out who Waluigi actually is. And not only have we figured out his secret backstory, we even know who his dad is. Spoiler alert, someone that you're likely to see in that upcoming Mario movie. Now, when he first appeared on the scene, most people assumed that Waluigi was Wario's brother. And that makes a lot of sense, right? The evil counterparts to the Mario brothers would also be brothers themselves, especially when you consider that they combined their names with the Japanese words Warui, which essentially means bad. Bad Mario, bad Luigi. Plus, there are a lot of direct sources just confirming the idea. When Mario Tennis was first released, Nintendo's website referred to Wario as Waluigi's big brother. Nintendo of Europe said it too. On the European website for the Mario Kart DS track Waluigi Pinball, it says this, quote, Wario's weird sibling constructed this high-speed track inside of a giant pinball table. There's also a series of articles that appeared on Nintendo of Europe's website between 2001 and 2003 called Wario's Warehouse. There again, Waluigi is referred to as Wario's brother. Naturally, I let Waluigi go first with the shopping. After my beanpole of a brother had slipped through, squealing with glee like an idiot, I followed and promptly got stuck. Now, these are things that Nintendo of Japan could have corrected, but never did over the course of 3 years. Of course, this is Nintendo we're talking about. Nothing is ever gonna be that cut and dry. There's a news brief in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games that specifically says Wario and Waluigi aren't brothers. That's it. That is all it says. It is very direct. In Mario Super Sluggers, Wario refers to Waluigi as his, quote, sneaky pal. And that sort of terminology also matches what Charles Martinet, the voice actor for Mario, Wario, and Waluigi, seems to believe. He said once in an interview, quote, I don't actually know if they're brothers or not. I don't think so. I think they're just two nice, evil guys who found each other. And then Nintendo just decided to own up to the confusion in Super Smash Bros. Melee and Brawl, where Waluigi's trophies describe their relationship more ambiguously, saying it's unclear or a mystery. So if they're not brothers, then who is Waluigi? Is he actor for hire Jimmy Papadopoulos, a rogue taco chef, a manifestation of Luigi's own insecurities? Luigi and Waluigi are the same person. No, hold on there, Brian David Gilbert. Let's not jump to conclusions. Because while Nintendo's words may say conflicting things about Waluigi, there's one part of him that's undeniable and unchanging. His design. That's right, theorists. It's time for my favorite Mario lore-solving tool, genetics. Let's talk about some traits that we've talked about a lot on this channel before, eye color. If these two were intended to be brothers, well, you'd expect some key elements of their designs to be the same. So let's look at exactly that. Both Wario and Waluigi have blue-gray eyes. If one of them had brown eyes, which is the dominant gene, well then the chances of them being related would go way down. So the fact that they have themselves the recessive blue-gray eye tends to strengthen the idea that they could be related. They also have the same blue rim around their eye socket as though they haven't gotten sleep for the last week, which, hey, I feel that. Admittedly, this is a weird connection and it's unclear whether it's genetic or not, but you know what? I'm not going to turn down any evidence no matter how random it might be. That's not the only thing either. Their noses also scream we're related. Obviously, the shapes are very different, with Waluigi's having a sharp point and Wario's being much wider and rounded. Then again, both of them are hot pink, as though they got themselves the worst case of rosacea ever. That cannot be a coincidence. I mean, I challenge you to come up with someone else in this franchise who has a pink nose. Really? Birdo is the long-lost relative of Wario and Waluigi. You know what? Not a bad idea. I'm going to write that one down for a future theory. But in all seriousness, with almost no other character in the series having the same nose as them, it seems pretty obvious that there might be some kind of a connection there. Also, while researching, I stumbled across this cursed image where Wario and Waluigi don't have the pink noses. Cannot unsee! That said, the cherry on top of our genetics sundae is, as it usually is in these sorts of videos, the ears. They both have themselves detached earlobes, which is noteworthy because most characters in the Mario franchise have earlobes that are attached to their face. That means that they're more likely to be related to each other than anyone else. But that wasn't the most interesting part here. What really caught my attention was the fact that both characters have pointed ears. This appears to be an exaggerated form of a rare congenital deformity called Stahl's ear, which gives the ear a pointed, elf-like appearance. That's why nicknames for this condition include Elf's ear and Spock's ear. Rough estimates put it at occurring in less than 1 in 6,000 children. Because of how rare it is, there's actually very little research available on the condition, but the general consensus is that it's likely hereditary, as evidenced by studies that were done on identical twins. Now, obviously this doesn't prove that Wario and Waluigi are family, but the rarity of pointed ears, combined with the eyes and the hot pink nose, heavily implies that they're closely related, like brothers, rather than just some distant cousin or a pal that they met one day at villain school. So, while not 100% confirmed, it does seem most likely that Wario and Waluigi are, in fact, brothers, just like Waluigi's initial announcement said on that Mario Tennis website. But if you thought I was just gonna leave the theory there, then clearly you haven't been watching this channel for very long. In which case, welcome. Consider stomping on that subscribe button. It's black now. Now, while it's certainly cool that we can show a lot of evidence suggesting that Wario and Waluigi are brothers, it's not exactly mind-blowing, so I'm gonna take it a step further. What if I told you that I can not only prove that Wario and Waluigi are siblings, I can also prove who the father is? Here's a hint. He's done more than his fair share of smashing, not just smashing that subscribe button like you just did. Need another hint? He's gonna appear in the Mario movie. Still no? Alright, last one. He actually has his own demolition company, a wrecking crew, if you will. And if you got that last reference, well done. You're either a Super Mario nerd or you're old. I believe that Waluigi's father is none other than the forgotten Mario rival, Foreman Spike, from the classic NES game Wrecking Crew. In the game, Mario works as part of a demolition team, and Spike is the boss, trying to knock Mario off of platforms or trying to hoard all the money for himself, presumably so Mario can't afford a lawyer in order to sue for the constant OSHA violations. Spike's entry in the Great Mario Character Encyclopedia suggests that his greed may even be worse than Wario's. So, he's greedy, and he resorts to sabotage. I mean, what other character does that remind you of? Now, admittedly, that is some pretty weak sauce evidence. Sure, they share some personality traits, but that doesn't really prove anything. He doesn't even look anything like Wario or Waluigi, and you'd be right. Provided you were just talking about his first appearance. However, the original Wrecking Crew isn't the only time that we see our buddy Foreman Spike. In 1998, Japan got the imaginatively titled Wrecking Crew 98. And of course, our boy Foreman Spike makes his triumphant return, only this time he looks a little bit different. Check out the nose. Nintendo decided to make it bright pink, thereby making him the only other character in the franchise with that design style. You may have also noticed that he's lost that magnificent beard of his from the first game, revealing instead a cleft chin just like Wario, making him the perfect candidate for these guys' father. Foreman Spike even has a hint of Stahl's ear going on. If you take a closer look at his sprite art from the game, you can see that the top of his ear has been made slightly pointier. Heck, he even has their signature laugh. This guy's basically what you get if Wario and Waluigi did a fusion dance, with the personality to match. And the connections here aren't just skin deep either. In 2001, Spike appeared in the Game Boy Color game Mobile Golf. In it, he has himself two profiles, and they use almost the exact same wording as Waluigi's character profile, both stating that they trained in secret and that they're actually hard workers. Bear in mind, Mobile Golf was made by Camelot, the same company that made Waluigi himself, so them sharing descriptions is hardly an accident. They even give Spike the same color scheme that they gave Waluigi in Mario Tennis on Game Boy Color. Beautiful.
Oh. Are they done playing? I should check the recording.
Don't we have a job to do?
I see. Yeah, this will make a wonderful gift.
Yai Publishing House released several new novels recently. Shigeru told me that a good number of them are children's fairy tales, perfect for reading aloud to kids. Oh, and girl Mew has just received a new batch of silk. She might have come up with some new kimono designs. But do you still remember what size your sister wears? The kimono might look a little off if you get the size wrong.
Let me think for a second. I've bought clothes for her plenty of times before. That's it. I believe it's... hold on. She's having her growth spurt at the moment. She probably doesn't fit into anything I've bought her in the past anymore.
It's okay if you don't know her exact size. You can always just buy her a few bolts of silk instead. Who knows? Maybe she'd like that even better. Oh, and why don't you take some fireworks with you as well? I just finished creating a new design that's both pretty and relatively quiet. I'm sure your siblings are gonna love it. What else should you get them? Let me think.
Bring something home from your trip?
Ah, it's you. Yoimiya was just recommending some Inazuman specialties for me to bring back as souvenirs. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have the slightest idea what to buy. Talk about a coincidence. I happened to be passing through Inazuma while taking care of some... work. I wanted to grab some presents for my younger siblings while I was here, but I couldn't decide on what to buy. Tusser once told me that he wanted to hold an Onikabuto, so I decided to go catch one of those little bugs first. As I was looking for Onikabuto in the forest, I saw a child playing all on his own, and he was headed straight for a camp of monsters. So I stopped the child, dealt with the monsters, and then he led me back to Yoimiya. After that, well, I was designated as the anti-Mujina specialist. It's a shame the kid's parents came and took everyone back home, saying that they'd had enough adventures outside. Our hunt for the yokai came to an abrupt end. The ship I'll be leaving on will arrive in Inazuma in just a few days. Then it'll be my turn to go back home. Oh, by the way, Yoimiya, can you recommend a few local beverages as well?
Local beverages, but you're going to be on a ship for quite some time, right? Beverages spoil easily. How about bringing some snacks with a longer shelf life? Something like tricolor dango or sakura mochi, for example. Saika loves tricolor dango, but the adults in her family always scold her for eating too many and spoiling her appetite.
Tusa used to be like that too. After having too many snacks, he'd refuse to eat his meals and end up getting yelled at by father. Anyways, thanks, Yoimiya. I gotta make sure I have enough mora for all this. 2 kimonos, 3 bolts of silk, 1 novel, 5 boxes of snacks. Oh, and the Onikabuto as well.
You really care a lot about your family, Tartaglia. Oh, you mean with Tartaglia? Nah, everything's fine. He took great care of the kids and even promised Iwao he'd teach him a few moves with a sword. Though, I have to say, it's amazing you have so many friends from all over the world.
Maybe.
You're so lucky. I'd travel all across the world too if I had the chance. I wanna
For
see
every
all that
friend
there
I
is to see
make,
and friends with
2
all kinds
enemies,
of
though,
people.
sadly, it
I would
seems.
even go on adventures with them, just like you do. But for now, I have to stay home with my pops, so I won't be traveling far anytime soon. Don't keep it a secret next time you come to Inazuma, okay? Just be sure to visit Naganohara Fireworks first, and tell me all about the amazing things you've seen on your journey.
Geez, that took a while.
purple. Waluigi also seems to have carried on the family business of construction. Mario Party E was a board game for the Game Boy Advance that came out back in 2003. What made it unique is the fact that it used the e-reader accessory, which would scan in real-world cards to affect what was happening on the screen. In this title, there's a minigame called Waluigi's Reign, where our favorite meme lord is operating something that resembles construction equipment, all while surrounded by steel girders and beams. His level is a construction site. More importantly,
Thank you
though,
for
is
completing
Waluigi's
today's-
island in Mario Party 3, where his crew of piranha plants is seen demolishing Luigi's property in order to make room for Waluigi posters. Notice that the Waluigi emblem is on the purple hammer in the upper right corner of the board, suggesting that Waluigi owns this equipment. Construction and demolition equipment, just like his dear old dad. And that's not all. Nintendo of Europe's website description for the Waluigi pinball track in Mario Kart DS
Just
states
because
that
someone has the
Waluigi
same profession doesn't
constructed it
mean
himself.
immediately
Top off,
that they're
his signature
related.
cart in Mario Kart DS is the gold
And at best, these are all
not even a
circumstantial
go-kart, it's an
evidence.
excavator. And not just any excavator either. One that is almost identical to Spike's in his mobile golf concept art. That's right, my friends. Waluigi is canonically forklift certified. Even his dance moves are secretly telling us that Waluigi comes from a construction family. In DDR Mario Mix, do you want to guess what his theme song is? It's a track called Destruction Dance, a remix of the Wrecking Crew bonus stage theme. Take a listen. Coincidence? I think not. Honestly, this is just scratching the surface of Waluigi's connections to Spike. I have myself a dump truck full of other smaller details, but then I realized that all of this evidence is actually highlighting a bigger issue. While Waluigi clearly shares strong connections with Form and Spike, outside of the nose, cleft chin, and large frame, Wario seems to share very little. Waluigi and Spike are in construction. Wario is into farming. His unlockable signature cart in Mario Kart DS was the Dragonfly Tractor. The fire attack cutscene in Game & Watch Gallery 4 shows Wario farming tomatoes, and in that cutscene he's accompanied by his pet chicken, who he loves so much that one time he prioritized her over retrieving his stolen treasure. Wario also seems to have himself some kind of German origin, speaking German on multiple occasions. Oh, I missed. Even his Super Mario Strikers theme is Germanic in nature. Plus, the big question still remains, if they're in fact brothers, why would Wario not realize this? Well, for that, we turn to one particular game,
With you
That
all
is
the way.
really
DS. In it, Bowser goes back in time to kidnap babies from all over the world in search
Let me
of the
try
7
this.
Star Children, even going so far as to kidnap a baby version of himself. Among those kidnapped children is none other than Wario. By the end of the game, all the babies are returned
can
by
do
force
this.
to their families, with one exception, Wario. Wario overpowers his stork and instead sits on a raft full of treasure that was stolen from Bowser's castle. Gotta give it to Nintendo on that one. Way to keep it consistent there, guys. But all of this means that Wario never returned home. His greed drove him to find treasure elsewhere, and he never found his way back. This is why Wario's Great Encyclopedia entry lists his place of origin as unknown, despite the fact that he has a ma that we hear him talk to as part of a blooper cutscene from Mario Power Tennis. Hello, and above everything else, this would explain why Wario doesn't call Waluigi his brother. He doesn't. Neither of them do, because they were separated at birth.
I remember that.
night when Kamek comes to find the Star Children, he took Wario and left Waluigi behind. No wonder Waluigi has issues. Can you imagine Kamek trying to collect every baby in the world in order to find the Star Children, but he takes one look at you and just says, nope, not that one. Waluigi, once again getting passed over. A trend that would then continue for the rest of his life. Anyway, Wario's obsession with greed means he never returns home, thereby growing up on a farm with some German lady while Waluigi remains home with his father, Foreman Spike, eventually grown up to take over the family business. But just like Mario was drawn to Luigi by their brotherly bond, so too were Waluigi and Wario drawn together, without ever truly understanding why. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And if you like this episode, why not check out the one where I answer another age-old Mario question. Is Yoshi a dinosaur or a dragon? That video is over there on the left.
I read you like a book.
I'll settle this. Our bond is strong.
Things are about to get dicey. Quietly now.
Time for your arraignment. Make yourselves at home.
Here comes the catch.
Stand with me. Hey.
Gotcha. No.
Our bond is strong. Incinerate.
Dang it.
Boom boom. Committed to memory. Dissipate.
Oh my god. Okay.
Everyone hold hands.
Quietly now. Things are about to get dicey.
The Temple of Wisdom. Incinerate.
Two stars to activate it. There is a diminishing returns mechanic present, which boosts the price of powers by 20% for each time you pop them in a battle. And this stacks, by the way. So as the match goes on, it will be progressively harder to keep the missiles in check. I also need to ensure that I activate this power at the end of my turn, but before I purchase my units, to maximize its effects. On day 5, Rachel charges at me with a huge army, and I'm starting to feel seriously threatened. I may be able to contain her superpower, but her massive units is another thing entirely, as Sasha doesn't have any passive firepower or defense boosts. However, as long as I can target fire Rachel's scary units like her tanks, I should in theory be fine. However, I get a little too careless as I start destroying her units, and I forget to monitor her power meter, resulting in her covering fire being ready on the next turn.
Use some fragile.
And this spells disaster for
Play
my
a little
troops.
longer.
As the missiles hit my forces one by one, they are easy pickings for the rest of Rachel's units to clean up, and thus I have to surrender. On my second try, I get a bit of an idea that might help me in reducing Rachel's power meter. After I activate my first market crash, I immediately tag over to Colin and pop Gold Rush on the following day. And this gives me some additional funds to work with, which will severely increase the potency of Market Crash. This is one of the reasons why these two are so great together. Their powers are literally designed to work in unison. On day 8, Rachel has a full power meter charged up, but I have 35,000 funds in the bank, which almost completely erases it with a single Market Crash. I tag over to Colin again just for fun to pop another Gold Rush and increase my bank to 43,000. You guys see how utterly broken this game is? There are so many ways to cheese the missions on hard mode, which is why I both love it and hate it at the same time. With her superpower nowhere near ready, Rachel is powerless to stop me as I barged into her base and wipe her out. It is deceptively scary to attack her on this map though, as she actually has 3 bases, and her units do repair faster, so you need to overpower them before they can pose a threat to you. Still, despite this, on day 13, with no losses, I'm able to mop up Rachel's final unit to clear the map. And yes, this game is also insanely limited for its S-rank requirements, so expect to see a lot of those.
Stand with me.
Mission 2, the new black, is where we truly start to see how cheesable the hard campaign is. In this map, we start with a bunch of artillery, and we have to fend off a large invaded force before they can reach us. We have to protect this 1 HP infantry unit from dying, and we'll get a game over if we fail to do so, but I never found that it was in imminent danger to begin with. We also start with a Neotank down in the south to protect our HQ from being captured.
Our bond is strong.
Our opponent for this map is
Out of my
Jugger,
way.
a new CO added to Dual Strike. He's a much more volatile version of Black from Advanced Wars 2, which makes him very annoying to go up against in a deathless run. On a day-to-day basis, his units can roughly do 30% extra luck damage, but when he pops his normal power, this rises to 55%. And when he pops his super, he can do a terrifying 95% extra damage, which is something that can
Things are about to get dicey.
Luckily, this mission can go on without us having to engage his forces much at all, by simply selecting the duo of Grit and Max. Like Colin before him, Max is just here for his 2 tag stars, while Grit is going to take center stage and blast away Jugger with his overpowered artillery. Thanks to Grit's +1 range on indirect, this mission becomes an absolute joke, as my artillery can just begin blasting away at Jugger's troops right away. As long as I take care to focus fire his mechs first, as they can actually threaten me by darting across the river, I have no issue blasting away the rest of his troops before they even get near me. What's also interesting about using Grit on this mission is that normally Jugger will ignore your Neotank and dart straight for the choke point. But with Grit's minus 20% firepower, the AI suddenly feels confident enough to attack it head on. This means that the Neotank alone can hold up the entire southern force, and I can use all of my artillery to blast the north side. As if my artillery aren't already good enough, I can also pop Snipe Attack to make them even better, turning this mission into a complete cakewalk. Towards the end of the map, Jugger does eventually activate a system crash, but I've taken care to reduce most of his unit's HP down to 3 or below. Like with the other games, luck damage will scale with a unit's health, so a unit at 3 HP only has 30% of its total luck value, meaning the damage it can do is pretty minor even if Jugger rolls maximum luck. Realizing that it can't hurt my Neotank, the AI instead opts to go for an HQ cap, but that's not really possible either, as the infantry are all damaged. After I clean up Jugger's remaining forces, I tag over to Max for style points, and on day 7, with no losses, I smash Jugger's final IPC to win the map. In Mission 3, Max Attacks, is where we normally get access to Max. In the normal campaign anyhow. This is the hard campaign, so we can use whoever we want. On this map, we start out with a bunch of battlecopters. There's 4 mini-cannons on the field which we can destroy to increase our mobility. However, there's also a new black hole super weapon coming our way, the Black Bomb. This thing is new to Dual Strike, and it's pretty much an air unit that can blow itself up to deal 5 damage to all units in a huge area. The Black Bomb is a rather controversial unit. It's pretty much banned in any competitive Advanced Wars match, and most people don't like it very much. On this mission, you pretty much have no choice but to tank the Black Bomb, as you can't shoot it down. But after that, your battlecopters have free reign to do as they please, as your opponent has no anti-air units. Speaking of your opponent, this time you're up against Lash, and she got nerfed pretty hard in Dual Strike. She now only gets 5% firepower increase for her Brainstar, down from the 10% she used to get in Advanced Wars 2. I guess even the developers fell into the noob trap of overvaluing Lash as a CO. Since this mission is focused on battlecopters, I decided to go with the most broken duo in Dual Strike, the grizzled vets themselves, Sensei and Hachi. Hachi, for as broken as he normally is actually just here to give 2 tag stars to his partner. Sensei, on the other hand, is here to kick some serious ass. He did get changed quite considerably in Dual Strike, as he no longer has vehicles, but his infantry only has 10% firepower now, down from 40%. But luckily, his battlecopters are still as broken as ever, and we start out with 9 of them. Strictly speaking, destroying all of the minicannons is not necessary at all. I just do it out of habit because they give a lot of experience to rank up your COs, and I do this even though I maxed out every single one in the game. On day 2, I clean all of the cannons up, and then I disperse all of my battlecopters out as much as possible in preparation for the incoming Black Bomb. If done well, the bomb shouldn't hit more than 2 of your copters, and at this point, there's not even any further need to attack Lash. You can just use a single battlecopter to block the 1 choke point leading back to your HQ, while 2 of your other battlecopters protect your units around your own HQ, and then you can just send the transport copter down to seize her HQ. The funny thing is, you don't even need to play Sensei to do this. A CEO like Jess would have been able to pull it off just fine. I just did it for the lulz. On day 5, with no losses, I am able to win easily, but just because I enjoy my S rank, I destroy a few of Lash's units before capping her HQ. What can I say? I just like to see those points go up. In Mission 4, Reclaim the Skies, we get introduced to one of the dumbest new gimmicks introduced in Dual Strike. Timed missions. actual real-timed missions. You have 30 real minutes to clear this map before a missile strikes Omegaland, but you don't really need more than 2, so that's pretty much something you can just ignore. This mission is a very simple pre-deployed map where you have to fight a bunch of air units with anti-air units. Sounds kinda easy, but your opponent is a jugger, and he has a lot of bombers with unpredictable luck damage, so I decide to bring in the master of pre-deployed warfare, the Emperor himself, Kambai, and his trusty daughter. Kambai is nerfed slightly in Dual Strike, as he now only has 20% increased firepower and defense, down from the 30% he used to have in Advanced Wars 2. But he's still by far the best CO you can pick for any pre-deployed
Let's make
battle,
haste.
and the 3 tag stairs he gets from his daughter are very nice too. This mission is all about using your units effectively to destroy as many of Jugger's forces as possible. The bombers are the high priority targets, but you can't reach them all due to the water, so you just want to ensure that there are as few enemy forces left to deal damage to you as possible. Due to the insane amount of damage you inflict on Jugger, there's little you can do to prevent him from activating System Crash on day 1, and this does turn the mission into a bit of an RNG fest due to his luck damage. But luckily, defense really counteracts luck in a big way, which is why Kambai is so effective here. In fact, I decide to pop Morale Boost at the end of my turn specifically for the 10% extra defense, so I can reduce as much of Jugger's luck damage as possible. I do end up having to reset twice in this mission, as it's quite easy to get one of your units picked off by Jugger's bombers, but on my 3rd try, I get some good RNG on Jugger's luck damage combined with me knowing how to properly position my units. And on day 3, with no losses and barely 2 minutes of real time spent, I clean up the last enemy unit and earn myself another 300 points S rank. Mission 5, Never-Ending War, proves to be the first real roadblock of this challenge. This map looks deceptively trivial at first, as it's just a standard battle with some mini-cannons on the enemy side. However, this battle is a lot more than it seems, because we are still not allowed to build anything more advanced than tanks, artillery, and anti-air, while the enemy can deploy neo-tanks and bombers. Furthermore, we are up against Cole, a new CO added to Dual Strike that is essentially an adder clone with an added bonus on roads. Movement COs are pretty tricky to go up against in a Deathless challenge because you have to constantly account for their units suddenly being faster, and when those are already high move units like Neo-Tanks and Bombers, it becomes even more scary. Since I don't really have any good way of dealing with such powerful threats, I decide to go with the duo of Nell and Rachel. Thanks to Rachel's 3 tag stars, Nell's 20% day-to-day luck gets boosted to 35%. That's almost like having a constant Rachel normal power active at all times. With that level of luck damage, it should allow my weaker units to inflict significant damage to Cole's vehicles, and particularly my artillery becomes quite deadly. As I begin this map, I remember just how annoying it is. Cole starts out with 2 battlecopters, which can go either north or south, and they seem to go wherever it's most inconvenient to me. My starting incomes suck, and I struggle to afford anti-air early on, and if I want to try and grab the northern base, which is kind of important, I get intercepted by a tank and an anti-air, which is incredibly rough to deal with in conjunction with the battlecopter. I have to reset several times just to find a good opener, as it is extremely hard to find balance between 2 fronts when I am so incredibly low on income. But the real problem begins when Cole starts sending Neo-Tanks my way. As Cole enters my base with several scary vehicles, my Dual Strike is almost ready, and while I would have absolutely loved to use it, I am forced to activate Lady Luck to deal with the invading forces. I roll pretty well on my luck rolls, and I am able to eliminate the Neo-Tank, but the problems don't stop there. Cole keeps spamming more of them into my base, and when he activates his powers, even my units on cities risk getting one-shot, especially considering there's a lot of roads on this map. So I realized that while luck damage is nice, I will need some defense if I am to successfully defend against Neo-Tanks. So I decide to switch up my strategy and pick Von Bolt as my main CO instead, as he gets a passive 10% defense boost. It may not sound like a lot, but it makes a big difference when you go up against Neo-Tanks. Now, I could have picked Kambai for 20% increased defense, but I'd rather not deal with the extra deployment cost when my economy is already in such a ragged state. I also decide to pick Cole as my partner, mostly because his short power meter means I can charge up a Dual Strike without having to swap over to him. And because as a member of the Bolt Guard, Cole does not have the 90% penalty when tagging with Von Bolt that nearly every other CO in the game have. With Von Bolt as my main CO, it's a lot easier to deal with Cole's Neo-Tank, as they don't one-shot most of my units on planes, though I do have to be careful not to let him get his road bonus. Still, even with the extra defense, this mission is not easy, and I have to utilize my units very carefully. using cities to my advantage and setting up artillery walls to try and bait the enemy Neotanks into range. The AI of Dual Strike is a bit odd. Sometimes it charges in, other times it stays out of my range, and there doesn't seem to be a clear pattern to its behavior. I have to think that there's a little bit of RNG involved. Luckily, the Dual Strike AI is much less interested in going for kills and rather seeks to take value engagements, so it's quite easy to draw it in with the prospects of a good trade. As my first Dual Strike is ready, it could not come in at a better time, as I'm having to deal with a lot of scary units at once. And I'm hoping Von Bolt's Ex Machina will hit Cole's medium tank, but sadly it has other ideas and goes for his bomber in the back instead. Luckily, the Ex Machina is just a cherry on top. It's the double turn I'm interested in, as it allows me to move several artillery within range and fire on his Neotank on the same turn, which manages to take it down. At this point, I have to try and secure the base, but that thing can spawn some very scary units, so I have to put several artillery units within its range to try and lock it down, while also dealing with Cole constantly sending bombers my way, all within range of a mini cannon. Yeah, this mission made me sweat quite a bit. There's a lot of things that can go wrong here. In the end, I'm able to take the base, destroy the mini cannon, and take the southern airport. And at that point, I can start pumping out bombers, which is needed to take down Cole's main base as he keeps spamming Neotanks, forcing me to retreat my entire northern force west. Luckily, once the bombers are out, it's only a matter of time before Cole is routed. And on day 29, with 0 losses, I kill his last mech and earn myself an A rank. Feels bad, man. In Mission 6, the Ocean Blue, we get our first pre-deployed naval battle. We have to fight with submarines, cruisers, and battleships, but we also got some land units and some transports, with the objective being either routing the enemy or capturing the HQ on their island. Being a naval battle, you'd think Drake would be the perfect pick, but they made some changes to him in Dual Strike, and I really don't like them. Whereas before, his naval units would get extra movement and defense, in Dual Strike they only get 20% increased firepower, which is a very boring change. Now there's no reason to pick Drake for a battle like this, as there are other COs that just does naval combat better, like Combi, Von Bolt, or even Max. However, there is another CO that completely trivializes this battle, and that is Grit. With Grit, your rockets can no longer be zoned out by Lash battleships, which is what makes this fight tricky to begin with. Furthermore, your battleship can zone out hers, as long as you take care to guard your own battleship against the incoming sub, which you can do quite easily with your battlecopters. The rest of the map becomes completely trivial. You can even move your own rocket in range of Lash's battleship on the allied property, as it will win this engagement due to being constantly repaired. Once you've eliminated the naval threat, your battleship can just repeatedly shell Lash's units on the island until you win the mission.
Astra,
In Chapter 7, Fog Rolls In, we get introduced to our first Fog of War mission in the campaign. There's nothing special about this one, just a regular battle in the fog with the objective being either routing or capturing the opponent's HQ. Since this is a fog mission, I decided to go with the fog specialist, Sonya. My battle plan for this map is just to build up a lot of forces, using her extended vision range to keep my units safe, and then tag over to her father once I've built up a large enough army. This map is a bit weird in that Cole has a bunch of ships hidden in the reefs, but most of them are out of ammo, so you can kinda just ignore them, as he only has a single base to produce units, so you don't really have to deal with any APCs coming around to resupply them. I do fail this map once as I get ambushed from the fog, but after that, it's fairly trivial to beat this map. I just have to capture the northern airport to prevent